everything that I knew would be happening to me in my life was happening exactly the way that I had planned it. Except none of us in this room, including me, deserve to be where we are. We're just plain lucky. I wanted to be the first man on Mars. And this is before Elon Musk came into the picture. I would not...
Please give the biggest round of applause and let's all welcome Ankur on stage. Louder, louder, louder.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, please, thank you, thank you, thank you.
The king come banging on your chest. You can beat the world, you can win the war.
Thank you so much, Gautam, for that very, very generous introduction. I'm always embarrassed when someone goes the extra mile to introduce me, but it's such a privilege to be amongst all of you. This is my first plug-in event. I was introduced to this several years back, of course, from a very far away distant. I thought that this was something that I would never be a part of. It was something that I was just witnessing on social media until a friend of mine who was supposed to be here, she introduced me to Gautam, and the next thing I know, I am supposed to be here. And as luck would have it, we went through our back and forth on what is it that I should be speaking on. And much to Gautam's misjudgment, he chose the most inconsistent person that you will ever meet to speak about the art of consistency. Once you get to know about my life and what I've been through, you'll be like, there is no way that this guy has any idea about being consistent. And what I wanted to talk to you all about is just my life. That's all that I have to share. It's been a joy living it. I am so privileged to be living every single day of my life. And if I were to hear it from anybody else as if it were their life, I would fall in love with it just as much as I am in love with my own life. And for that, I'll have to take you back all the way to school. So it's one of those rare kids in school that knew exactly what I wanted to do very early on in life. Back in class 7th or 8th, I knew exactly what I wanted to do in life, and it was a 3-step plan. Step 1 was to go to the US to do a PhD. I always wanted to become a scientist, and that was all that I wanted to do in life. Step 2 was, as a space scientist, I wanted to join NASA as the Institute of Work. ISRO was nearly not as cool as it is today, so back then, if you wanted to be a space scientist, NASA was the place to be. And then step 3, if you were a space scientist at NASA, then where else would you want to go but Mars? So I wanted to be the first man on Mars. And this is before Elon Musk came into the picture. I've not been polluted by any startup porn. This is before Shah Rukh Khan featured in Swades as a NASA scientist who returned it and completely killed it for me. I'm like, dude, if he can become one, then anybody can become one now. What's the big deal about me? But this was the 3-step plan. Go to the US for a PhD, join NASA as a space scientist, and become the first man on Mars. And everything that I was doing in life, every single step of mine, action, thought, emotion, was towards these 3 steps. I took up science in class 11th and 12th because that was what I had to do. And then I joined Hindu College, Delhi University, for its Bachelor's of Physics program. How many of you here from Delhi University? Well, so you will agree with me when I say nothing happens at Delhi University. So nothing happened those 3 years. I didn't get anything academically from those 3 years. The only thing that I got out of college was my wife. So I'm glad I went to college. It wasn't for that purpose, but it just so happened that we met, and this was the best graduation gift that college could give me. But I was like, that's totally okay. I didn't learn anything academically, but my goals are very centered. I'm going to apply to the US. That's what I began to do. And in the journey of those applications, I got through Michigan State University for its PhD program in space on 100% scholarship, which was the only way. There will be a lot of moments where we'll be like, oh, fuck, stop humble bragging. But you have to follow it to truly understand the essence of all the hops that I've taken in life. So I got through Michigan State, and frankly, The only way that I've ever gone to the US was through a scholarship. We come from a very humble background. There was always hand-to-mouth existence. We never had enough money. We were, frankly, almost always in perpetual financial debt. So the only way that a fine US education could happen was through the scholarship, and I'm so glad that I went there and got that. And the next thing I know, I'm an Indian student in the US education context. And the one thing commendable about the Indian education system is that it teaches us when to study, whether to study, what not to study, to crack the exams in the perfect manner as if you know your shit, but you really don't. So I was applying my 18 years of hard training clinically well, and I was killing it. Top of my class, my professors loved me, my students hated me. I was on this fast-track program to complete the PhD. Everything that I knew would be happening to me in my life was happening exactly the way that I had planned it. Except something was missing. Something was vividly missing. And we all know when something is missing. We may not want to admit it. We may not want to come to terms with it, but we all know when something's missing. You can lie to anybody but yourself. And I found myself lying to my own self that this was where I was finding my joy. I was getting up every morning. I was clinically doing it well, better than anybody else that I knew, but there was something missing. The hum, the buzz, the mojo, whatever is it that I wanted to feel that wasn't there. And I began to have these very tough conversations with myself. What's wrong? This is exactly what you wanted to do. This is where you wanted to be. This is all the expectations that you have drawn upon people who are waiting back at home, waiting for you to become that success that you had sold to them. And after these very hard conversations, I came to the conclusion that physics was something that I was good at, but it didn't make me happy. Physics was something that I was good at, it didn't make me happy. And for the first time in my life, it struck me that what you're good at and what makes you happy could be two entirely different things. And that was a shocking revelation to me, because all my life I'd been told that if you're good at something, you automatically become happy doing it. But that was nearly not the case for me. Here I was really killing it in what I was supposed to do, but it wasn't giving me the joy and the contentment that I thought I would be getting out of it. And in that moment, I had two choices to make in life. One, continue to do whatever I'm doing. And because I was good at it, I would get all the clinically societal success metrics hit. I would get that Gadi, Bangla, Shan, Shaukat, the wealth, the respect, the everything that would come because of you being good at something that you're doing, but it may not make me happy. Or two, pursue whatever the hell happiness meant. And at that point of time, I decided to do pretty much that. I decided to drop out of my PhD and come back to India. And you can imagine how that conversation went with my parents. Because they were like, what the hell is wrong with you? For 8 years, तुमने हमारा दिमाग खराब कर दिया है. NASA, space, US, astronomy, and all of this, and now you're giving us this bullshit theory of, oh, I'm good with this, but I'm not happy, or whatever that means. And it was a hard conversation back and forth with them as well. And at some point of time, they were like, look, here's what we think is going on. You want to come back to India? That's fine. But you don't have to drop out of your PhD and come back to India. Why don't you finish your PhD and then come back to India? And the minute I heard that, I was like, where have I heard this before? And I remember in class 10th, my parents told me, why don't you study for this 1 year and you will have to never study ever again in your life? And then in class 12th, they told me, why don't you get through a really good college and your entire life will be taken care of? And they're giving me the same theory again. Why don't you finish your PhD? Something miraculous will happen that will set you in order. Hope was their strategy. And I didn't want to make hope my strategy. I was like, there is no way that I'm signing up for that for my entire life. So I'm so glad I did not listen to my parents. I somehow got the moral courage to come back to India. And it's very fancy today to stand up on stage and it's like, oh, I'm a PhD dropout. And people are like, oh my God, you have dropped out of PhD. Everybody cool and successful we know has dropped out of something. So this must be really cool. But back then in 2004, to drop out of your education simply meant that you failed in your exam, that you just couldn't make it through, and then coming back, I was directionless. At the age of 24, I had no plan, no goal. Nobody in my world except for the lady sitting here genuinely wanted me back. They all felt that this was the worst mistake I would make. I was absolutely confused. There was no family, business, or job waiting for me because we were perpetually in financial debt. And at that point of time, my friends were like, "You're confused. So why don't you do what most confused people do? Go get an MBA." And I'm from Delhi University. I had my friends who had gone on to do an MBA. And I saw them spending those 2 years, the time, the money, the commitment. I wasn't sure of whether this was the right thing for me or not. And serendipitously, I come across this rather young school. It's only 5 years old. It's an insanely expensive program, at least for us. But it's a 1-year program, which was awesome because I wouldn't have to spend 2 years figuring whether this was for me or not. And the best thing about the program was it would be a bunch of work experience people who would be studying with me. And that was awesome because I had zero perspective in life at that point of time. If you ask me who the most important men and women that changed the world, I'd be like, oh, Madame Curie, Isaac Newton, Einstein, Archimedes. That was it. My entire perspective and worldview was just physics. I knew nothing about the real world. What is finance? What's sales? What's marketing? What's IT? What's strategy? What's HR? So for me to be spending time with people who had done real shit in life and knew something about the real world would be the best learning playground for me. So I applied to the school called the Indian School of Business, and I thankfully got through. This was the 5th batch of ISB. This was before whosoever in this audience knows of ISB has become ISB. Back then, it was still a very risky thing to do, and I'm so glad that I took that risk because that 1 year just fundamentally changed me. It just absolutely altered me. And I think the big reason is because while I went to ISB looking for a job and a career and a role and a function or whatever it is, the bigger thing was I went to ISB looking for myself. Who am I? What am I good at? What am I not good at? What are the things that I should be doing in life, not doing in life? And I think I found those answers in that 1 year of ISB. I also realized that one of the professions that I could pursue after business school was consulting. Because it was a fancy profession, you would be thrown into business situations, real life problems, and you would then get to work with very smart people, help businesses grow. So I started applying for the consulting roles, and I got through a consulting firm. And the next thing I know, as a 26-year-old, I'm sitting in the boardrooms of really large companies in front of people whose faces I've seen on the covers of newspapers and magazines, telling them on how they should be running their business, basis the Excel sheet that I have made, basis my understanding of their business, of which I had no idea until 2 weeks back. And I was like, how does this even make sense? I'm 26 years of age. You have worked in this company for longer than I've lived on this planet. This is not an equal relationship. Why aren't you throwing me out? But they weren't throwing me out, and if they weren't, I was getting to learn a lot at their expense, and I wasn't complaining. A year and a half into consulting, I'm having a ball of a time, getting to learn a lot. And I'm catching up with a friend of mine from ISB. And he's like, hey, I've started this new website that I wanted to talk to you about. I said, sure, what's it called? And he said, it's called secondshadi.com. I was like, is it what I think it is? And he's like, yeah, man, it's a matrimonial website for people to get married again. There's so many people who get married in India, so there are bound to be people who get divorced and widowed, and this is a platform for them to get married again. And I was like, that is such an incredible idea. How did you think about that? He's like, no, my dad thought about this. I was like, I hope uncle and auntie are having a happy marriage, but more importantly, is there a way that I can help? And he's like, yeah, man, I am a coder, I'm an engineer, I will build this thing out, but I think that you and I would make a great team. Would you want to build this with me? And at that point of time, I was like, look, for the first time in my life, I'm actually working on something that I genuinely enjoy. I'm learning a lot. I'm making money for the first time in my life. I think it may be very unwise of me to just leave all of that right away and join you. But if you're okay, I would love to spend whatever time comes out of consulting, which as it is not too lot, and just spend it with you to just see where it goes. And he was very gracious about it. He said, sure, let's just do that. We'll see where it goes. And that's it. For the next 1.5 years, I had a day job as a consultant. During nighttime, I was Batman trying to get people married again. And it was awesome. There was just so much to learn. And it got to a certain size and scale where it warranted my full time. So I decided then to quit consulting, take a 80% pay cut down to the bare minimum financial amount that I needed to survive, and joined secondshadi.com. And you can imagine how that conversation went with my parents. They're like, what the hell is seriously wrong with you? Why do you every 4 or 5 years keep inflicting this pain? Forget on yourself. Why do you keep inflicting it on us? तुम्हारी पहली शादी भी नहीं हुई है. You have no idea what marriage is about, and here you're trying to get people married again. How does this even make sense? And I was like, it makes sense because I think I can go back to the world that I've come from. I think I can go back to consulting if I want to, but I don't know whether this opportunity is going to come back again or not. And I quit consulting, joined Second Shadi. We had a ball of a time. We built several other websites. The big one of that became Gaadi.com, which very quickly became India's, well, not the number one, but one of the top car classified websites. And in 2010, we got an opportunity to sell it to Go Ibibo, which back then was doing random things and was buying random companies, so we were just one of them. We made a little bit of money, and then we were looking at things to do. There were 3 of us. We went our ways. And I got in touch with this company called Groupon. And Groupon had started in 2008 in Chicago. It was on wildfire. It was growing like weed. It was just setting up offices all across the world. India was one of the countries they wanted to start. They were looking for someone to start that business. I got in touch with them. They liked me. I liked them. And the next thing I know, I started the Groupon India business for Groupon in 2011. I did that for 4 years. And just in time for the 4 to 5 year itch that happens in my life, it was time again. And I was like, hey, Groupon, you have really big problems to solve in US and Europe, which are meaningfully large. Because of that, the attention that you give to India is not enough. I get that, but that's not a good reason for me. And I see this opportunity day in and day out, and I think we're sitting on a mega opportunity. So we went to Groupon Global and made a very audacious ask. We said, why don't you sell the Groupon India business to us? We will make it independent and run it. We want nothing to do with you. And the first reaction was, sorry, what are you talking about? You're a 100% subsidiary of a publicly listed company listed in the US. This shit does not happen. It's like, yeah, we know it doesn't happen. And it hasn't ever happened in India, but here's the reason why it should happen. And it took about 9 months of convincing, and we were able to convince them. We partnered with Sequoia Capital, which is one of the world's most respected venture capital firms, and we bought the Groupon India business from Groupon and made that into Nearby.com, which still continues to run. In 2017, Paytm came along. They loved the business. They made an investment, because of which we became a Paytm majority company. And then in October of 2019, I stepped down as the CEO of Nearby. I'd spent 9 years in building Groupon and Nearby. I thought I'd done my bit. It was time for the 4 to 5 year itch to come back. And I decided to take what I thought would be a 3 months break. And I am now on the 20th month of the 3-month break. Still figuring what I wanted to do. Like, if anyone asks me the quintessential dumbest interview question of all times, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? My answer is, I don't know, but I'm okay with that. I am totally okay not knowing where I will be 5 years from now. And the reason I love this story is not because it's mine. The reason I love this story is because it starts with the biggest thing that we're all told is a necessary ingredient to success. Got to have a plan. Got to have a plan, and then you stick to the plan. No matter what, you just stick to the plan because that's what's sold to us. And I had a plan. I had a plan in life that was better than any other plan that I had come across at that point of time. I had a plan that was quantifiable, that was measurable, that was achievable, I was doing well on it. All those SMART goal principles were checked. Everything was in order. And yet, life punched me hard in my face. I was pursuing that plan, doing very well, and Life laughed at me. It mocked me. It said, you think you have a plan? I have a plan for you. And I want to see how you react to that plan. And when I came back from the US, I had two choices. Plan A didn't work. So plan B, plan C, plan D. You've got to be consistent. You've got to have a plan. Or was it even possible to live life without a plan? Is it possible at all to live life without a plan? And as wild as that thought was, I decided to pursue that thought. Because frankly, I had no basis to come up with another plan. I had no basis to come up with another plan. And that's true for most of us in this room. We come up with a plan, but that's not a plan, it's just a desire. We want to get there and we call it a goal and a target, but that's not a goal and target, it's just where we want to be. It has no qualification of can we get there? It has no qualification of can we go beyond that? All that we choose is just a desire, call it that a goal and a target and start working towards it, thinking that it's a plan. And I didn't want to sign up for that because I had just broken up with my previous plan. I thought that I would be in love with physics all my life and that would be the plan, and suddenly I was not in that relationship anymore. So I didn't want to make another plan my rebound. I didn't want to make another plan like, oh, let's just have a plan, and that doesn't work. And today, when I reflect upon my life, I realize that that's how I've been living life for the last 15, 16 years, without a plan. And what I wanted to share with you today is the basis or the foundation of how I've gone about doing that, in the hope that you can derive something from it that helps you look at your life, reflect upon it, and if needed, make some change that makes you happier about that from tomorrow onwards, if not today itself. The key is consistency. And there's a very powerful quote that I read once, which has stayed with me. We all know people through their actions, but we know ourselves through our thoughts. We know ourselves through our thoughts, but we know people through their actions. We don't know what's inside the head of someone else. So we only see what they are doing and thus form an opinion of who they are. But we always know what's inside our head. And that's why we're constantly aware of who we are and why we're doing what we're doing. Which is why very often there are people who come back to us, counter what we're trying to do, and in our head it's like, isn't it obvious why I'm doing it? Like, isn't it obvious to you that this is the way to do it? Because in our head, we've gone through that conversation. But to them, they haven't seen that being enacted. And what you would think about my life, the reason I started with being the most inconsistent person that I would know of, and Gautam making that misjudgment of calling me for this talk on consistency, is because if you were to dispassionately and objectively look at my life, it is fairly inconsistent. I wanted to be once a scientist, then I wanted to be an MBA student, then a consultant, then an entrepreneur, then became an MNC employee, then became an entrepreneur. Today I'm a content creator, tomorrow God knows what. Dude, you're playing with your life. It's great that you're okay with that, but that's not what I would endorse to anybody, least of all to myself. And it's because you see me through my actions. It's consistently inconsistent, but that's not the point that I was trying to make. You see me inconsistent in my actions, and that's the way that you know me. That's the way that you interpret me. I see myself through my thoughts. And the big difference in what you think of me and what I think of myself is that I have never been inconsistent in my thoughts. I have been consistent with how I look at the world, and that is the consistency of thought. And the biggest trap that you will fall in is because people will point out to you that you are inconsistent in your actions, you will begin to tend to them and not your thoughts. You will begin to create an identity of yourself to cater to what the world's opinion is of you as against what you should be doing as per your thoughts. And I go back to one of the most powerful quotes that you will ever come across by philosopher Cooley, who said, I am not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. I'll say that once more because it's intensely deep. I don't want you to write it, just absorb that, because if it stays with you, that's exactly what I would want. I am not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. We constantly think that the other person opposite to us is thinking of us in a certain way, and that is our identity. And that's the biggest trap the world lays out for us. It's the biggest trap the world lays out for us. And it's beautifully disguised because it's in our head. And the day you free yourself from that, from the need to be consistent in your action because you're consistent in your thought, is when you make the first breakthrough. And here are 3 things that I have lived life by, which I wanted to share with you as the consistency in the thoughts that I have just spoken about. Number 1, how many of you here have been to a Google office? So you would know what I'm talking about. For those who haven't, you may have heard of it. The fanciest thing about a Google office is it's free lunch. It's, oh my God, it's massive and it's free. To give you a sense, I've been to the Gurgaon Google office several times, and imagine a football field as big as this or perhaps even more. And then there are food counters. So there's the Italian food counter, the continental food counter, the South Indian food counter, the North Indian food counter, the healthy food counter, the dessert food counter, the don't care food counter, the care what you want food counter. And it's free. It's like a politician's wedding into 3. It's just amazing. And I remember going to one of these lunches, standing in line of what was the Indian food counter, and there's a Googler in front of me, because I can see him wearing that strap. And he steps aside to see what the menu for the day is. He reads the menu, and he goes, "Fuck, man, aaj phir se dal makhni hai." And I stood there, stunned, wondering, what has this person done in life to be complaining about the fact that he's getting to have dal makhni for 2 consecutive days of his life? Where did this go wrong? Like, where did this go wrong? And here's the bullshit theory that I came up with. When Larry Page and Sergey Brin, who are the 2 founders of Google, decided to start Google, they said, we're going to create what will be the biggest mindfuck experiment that the world has ever seen. Here's how it will work. We'll get a group of really smart people in a room. We'll call it a company thereafter. And we'll give them the most complex problems to work on. They will love that work. It'll be challenging like nobody else. But we'll also give them shit they didn't expect. We'll give them free food. We'll give them a great office. We'll tell them you can come whenever you want to come, leave whenever you want to leave, wear whatever you want to wear at work. You can bring your pets. You can cycle to work. You can sleep at work. You can spend 20% doing something that you don't have any business doing. You are free to do whatever you want. We love you. And what's going to happen is over time, they will get addicted. They will get addicted. But Larry Page and Sergey Brin were also statisticians. So they're like, what's the probability that everyone will feel the same way? Well, non-zero. So let's pick a number. It will be a low number, 1%. 1% of everyone that we work with, when they are given stuff that they didn't expect, will not get addicted. They will stand in front of the mirror and will be like, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve anything of what Google does for me. It is a privilege, an opportunity, a blessing for me to be at this point. Because they recognize that they are lucky. The truth is, none of us in this room, including me, deserve to be where we are. We're just plain lucky. We were just born in a family that took care of us, that gave us food, shelter, upbringing, education, love, because of which we sit on opportunities that we take for granted. And there are millions of people right outside of this fancy room that will never get to see what we witness on a daily basis. They are smarter than us. They definitely will work far harder than we ever will in life. But we actually trick ourselves into believing that we deserve to be where we are. And that makes us entitled. And when you get entitled, you start complaining about random shit in life. You start complaining about everything in life. You start complaining about the aircon not being cool enough. You start comparing about the food that you're having in a 5-star hotel. You start comparing about Uber and Ola not showing up on time. You start comparing about Netflix not streaming fast enough. You start comparing about something not working in your life, your office chair creaking, your desk not being big enough, your internet not being fast enough, your manager not being responsive enough, your Zoom calls not being exciting enough. You complain about random shit because you think you've got to a certain point in life where you deserve to get these things in life. And that's a trap. That's it. It's over. Game over. Because the day you're entitled, the day you are entitled, you stop. You just stop. You stop learning, you stop growing, you stop being curious because that's it. And the consistency of thought is, I will never get entitled. I remember showing up in office every day while at Groupon, at Nearby, genuinely astonished that I am the CEO. Like, I am the CEO? Because I didn't believe it for a single day. I don't believe it when people walk up to me so graciously saying, your content helps me. Like, seriously, you're kidding me? Like that shit that I record on that phone, just blurting out my thoughts, thinking that it's just mine, that moved you? It helped you? I am in disbelief. And I love that disbelief because I don't ever want to assume that I am in any small way making any difference at all. What I want to do is, this is a privilege. It's an opportunity. It's something that I love doing. It's authentically me. I will continue doing it irrespective of what's coming because I don't know of anything else. It's consistent in my thought. Don't get entitled. That's the first consistent thought in my head. And it's been so for the last several years that I know myself. Second, every product, every service, every engagement, every relationship that we have in life right now is almost always designed for just one thing and one thing alone: our comfort. Our comfort. You want a book? Click. You want food? Click. You want the latest movies? Click. You want clothes? Click. You want love? Swipe right. Whatever you want. At the speed of thought, available to you, right when you want it. It tricks us into believing that the purpose of life is to make life comfortable. It tricks us into believing that the purpose of life is to make life comfortable, when ironically, when you look at people who you would want to be, that you're inspired by, that you look up to, you will see that on a daily basis, they are picking up the path of maximum resistance. They're not picking up the comfortable journeys and the comfortable paths and the comfortable decisions. They are picking up, consciously so, the path that they know might set them up for failure, but if it works, will change their orbit. And they are consciously making those choices in life. Never getting comfortable. Never getting comfortable. And go back to your life, and you will recognize how many choices in our day do we make which are drawn from the need and the urge to be comfortable. You are in a job, in a profession, and whatever it is that you do, you're getting good at it, and you want to stay in that because it works for you. You send an email, job's done. You pick up the phone, job's done. You speak to people, job's done. You love that. And then you wonder, how is it that people are growing at a faster pace than me? What is it that they're doing that you're not? The simple answer, most of them are just making hard choices that make them face their fears, challenge what is it that they're scared of. I speak to college students, business school students, and I tell them these 3 years, 4 years, 5 years of your life, the best thing about it, nothing that you do is going to fuck up your life during this college. Nothing. You can actually go ahead and make all the mistakes that you want in life, and nothing is going to set you up for failure. And yet you wouldn't do it. You're scared of public speaking, and yet you would not have the audacity to come up on stage and speak. You were scared of approaching strangers, sending cold emails out, and never would you try to do that even once. You're scared of networking. You don't have confidence in you to approach someone and ask for something, and yet you would never do that. Why? It's because we just want to be in that comfort zone. We don't want to be challenged. We don't want to be seen as someone who's threatened, because in our head, that is not what the mind is hardwired for. In my head, I'm dead if I'm making comfortable choices. I'm just dead making comfortable choices. I remember last year, and Ruchi knows this very well, when COVID struck, and not a lot of people know this because it's frankly not even necessary for you to, all my wealth is attached to nearby equity. I don't have anything in hand, cash, that I can just dispense and live my life. So when I stepped down as the nearby CEO, people were like, what are you even doing? This is when the company's become profitable. Now you get to reap the benefits of what you've done for the last 9 years, and this is the point that you want to leave? And I was like, yeah, because I think I've done my bit. But it wasn't that I had shitloads of money waiting for me that I could just spend in a pool or golfing and just living my life in a happy way. We had to make shit work. And last year, when COVID struck, and a large part of the corporate talks income flow that I had just went to zero, we literally had 3 months of runway. 3 months of money in the bank before we ran out of money to pay for our EMIs, our school fees, our utility bills, our food, everything. It sounds crazy, but it is true. And at that point of time, it wasn't like, oh, let's go back to a job, let's go back to the job. What I love about what we have is, we're like, you know what, fuck this shit. If we don't get anything in the next 3 months, and that's the shot we have, we're going to sell this house, make about 40, 50 lakhs because of whatever sale we happen, pay off the loans, and just move to the mountains. We're going to homeschool our kids, we're just going to become farmers, and we're just going to not care a fuck about what the world thinks we should be doing. And in my head and in her head, I can't even begin to tell you how easy this decision is. Like, I don't think you will ever understand if you're not in that same mental makeup of how easy that decision was. Like, it was just a conversation, and you're like, okay, done, that's awesome. Now, we got 3 months, we're going to make it happen. If it doesn't, move to the mountains. Like that. And what holds you from making that decision today? Not because you're not smart, not because you can't make it happen. You're up caught in the comfort that you are in that zone that you're in, that you've sold to the world, to yourself, and to the consistency of the thoughts that the world has imposed on you, the consistency of actions that the world has imposed on you, not the consistency of your thoughts that you have inside of you. And which brings me to the third and the last point, and I have 20 minutes to go. Love to have a conversation on this. In 2012, I have 2 friends who are very dear to me. Both of us, well, all 3 of us, we became founders around the same time in 2009. So we've technically grown up together as founders, and we love just bashing each other, confronting each other, just challenging each other's point of view and so on. And it was my birthday, I remember, and the 2 of them gifted me this poster which said, "Do epic shit." And when I heard that and I saw that, I was like, oh, that's quite cool, man. Do epic shit. Yeah, that's like awesome. Such a great thing to have. And I kept it on my desk when I was at Groupon. And every day I used to stare at it. And I think it was about 3 months into it, I realized, what does do epic shit even mean? Like, it's really nice to hear about it. It's like, oh, do epic shit. Follow your passion. Oh, yeah. I will follow my. What does it even mean? I didn't want it to be like any other thing that we follow or just like because we think it is cool. And I broke it down. And the minute I broke it down, it was just intently obvious to me that this is how I had been living my life all this while. Do epic shit. And here's what the breakdown was. It's about do. It's about how you're acting upon your thoughts as against the thoughts in your head that just consume you day in and day out. Not because the world wants you to do that, but because you want to act on your thoughts and see them come through in real life. There are so many of us that are consumed by our thoughts, but we never take action about it. We keep thinking, oh, we gotta go to the gym, gotta make this move, gonna apply, gonna leave, gonna start. We never do anything about it. And then one day comes, it's like, oh, unicorn? Bullshit. I had this idea 5 years back. Well, big shit, dude. That guy did something about it, still in your head. No one gives you a reward for that. You're not going to win any award for that. So it's about doing as against just consuming it in your head and letting it stay there. It's about epic, which means you do something that's bigger than you. That's not just contained to you. It becomes bigger than who you are as an individual, as a brand, as a personality. It spreads in some meaningful manner that you are proud of. It attaches you to something which is a larger purpose than what is just your mere existence. And while you're doing it, it's shit in the sense that you're having fun doing it. You're just having fun doing it. It doesn't even look like work to you. As Naval Ravikant said, that most people will envy those for whom their work is not even work, it's play. And it is. It's just play. You do it in a manner that's like, oh my God, how does he even do that? And in their head, it's like, how can you not even see that it's so easy for me to do it? Because it's just a parallel frame at which they're operating. Do epic shit. Do something that's bigger than you, that you can attach a larger purpose to, and have fun while doing it. And if you have these three combinations coming in, fuck the world when it says that you are inconsistent. Because in your head, you are so consistent that you wouldn't trade your life for anything else. At the end of it, here's the biggest thing that I think the last 2 years taught us. And we've been through very tough times together, lack of money, lack of opportunities, and so on. And what's starkly always left is that, you know what? We're never going to die of poverty. We're never going to die because we don't have clothes. We're never going to die because we don't have food to eat. But yet, we are dying every single day because we think we should be somewhere else and not where we are. And that is the biggest tragedy of life. The biggest tragedy of life is not death, it's what dies within you while you're still alive. And that just boils everything down. Everything. And I want you, when you step out today, to feel a tad liberated. Free yourself. Just free yourself for a second. Don't attach yourself to any identity. Anything. Not the money that you have, not the possessions that you have, not the role and the title that you have, not the person that you think your friends think of you, or your parents want you to be, or you would want to be yourself. Nothing. You are nobody. Just free yourself for that second. And then ask yourself, how would I go about living life now? What are the things that are tying me down? Why do they tie me down? Why am I so attached to them? What's the worst thing that can happen? And you will realize that the worst thing is actually not that bad at all. It isn't. You make it in your head because you are living for a certain consistency of action that the world expects from you. But if you were to get it inside your head and translate it into a consistent thought and just live by it, you now have a principle that you are free to live by. And the happiest people are doing precisely that. Thank you. 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 I wasn't expecting this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you. Thank you.
How was that, guys? Ankur, I wanna say this here, because I know you will leave a bit early. Your humility is inspiring, and you are a true testament that the greatest teachers are also the greatest students. It's humbling to have you here. It's truly, truly an honor. I've learned a lot. I'm certain everybody is not a tad bit inspired, tad bit liberated. I could feel it from the back of the room. I have deep gratitude for you to share what you do and do what you do with so much consistency and so much heart. It's a pleasure to see. It's just a pleasure to witness. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
One of the things we will do is we have we have time for a few question answers here. We have about 10 minutes for Q&A here. And after that, we'll also have Ankur at the back of the room so you guys can have a few chats. You'll have enough time. We have a tea break for about 45 minutes, so you can chill outside nearby. Ankur will be around the whole time. And then we'll be back by 1 p.m. Okay, we'll be back here by 1 p.m. Is that cool? What I'll do is, we'll have a bunch of mic runners here because we have about 13 minutes, so we'll do that here. And then we can take Ankur in the back. Some mic runners to facilitate the Q&A, and you can raise your hands. If you have a question, I'll pass on the mic from here. Okay, I'll go there first. State your name, stand up, and then ask the question.
Hello.
Yes.
Ankur, first of all, thank you. I want to hug you. I want to hug Ruchi. You guys are just amazing. I mean,
Thank
your
you.
story. Thanks for sharing
Thank
that.
you so
You're a very
much.
kind and a generous man. To tell,
Could you hold it?
to
close?
tell your life secrets and sharing that. I used to think that खाली मेरी life पे Bollywood movie बन सकती, but ऐसा नहीं है. काफी लोगों पे movie बन सकती है. So I just wanted to thank you, and I just wanted to say, yesterday we met and I told you that I had this question for you. I wanted to ask. I don't know if I can use this. Fuck, नहीं हो रहा यार, नहीं हो रहा. बहुत try किया, बहुत businesses set up किए, बहुत मेहनत की, okay? बहुत सारी problems आई, नहीं हो रहा. What's the thing that's, how do you get that consistency? And you just answered that. So
All
thank
right.
you for that.
Thank you so much, firstly. Thanks a lot, man. It means a lot. So let me broaden the question. The question is, you have been at it for several years, doing several things, not working out. Something's not working out, not working out. And I get that. I get that totally because I've been in that zone several times, several occasions. And it's not just about startups. It could be relationships. It could be actions that you want to take in your life. The thing that I always come back to is, and this is just a model that I use. Number one, answering this question, what is the biggest thing that is important for me in life right now? One thing. I'll share this with an anecdote. So when I was, I think 10 years out, please have a seat. Yeah, thank you. I think it was 2015 or something, and this was around the placement season of ISB, which is when most students remember the alums. Hey, we got this question to ask, and blah, 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 blah. So there was one guy who called me up, like, hey, I've got this 2 offers, and I need to make a choice, and can you help me make that choice? And I'm like, sure, what are the choices? And he's like, oh, I've got a Google offer, and I've got a McKinsey offer. And oh my God, life is so hard, man. It's just so hard. I don't know what to do with this. It's like, why does life have to be so hard? It's like, firstly, dude, life is not hard for you if you have Google and McKinsey to choose from. What's the most important thing for you in life right now? And then, because he'd been trained as an MBA student, he's like, learning. I said, sure, great, awesome answer. Is learning so important for you that you're going to work in a toxic environment, getting paid peanuts, not in a great brand, but you're learning a lot? I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Why would I do that? That's great. Then learning is not the most important thing that you would want. Go back. And then he came back like, okay, you know what? I admit, I see what you did there. It's actually money. I said, great. If money is the most important thing for you, go back and answer this question. Are you going to work again in a toxic environment where you don't learn anything? You're working under a horrible manager in a horrible brand, but they pay you a lot. Like, no, I wouldn't do that. I said, great. Why don't you go back and figure what it is? He never came back. He's like, boss, answer de doge Google or McKinsey. Like, why does it have to be so complicated? You have to be a nice alum. But here's the thing. Most of us don't know what we want from life at this point of time in life. We have these very large plans, these grand goals that we are taught, 5-year plans, 10-year plans, this vision of life. We don't know what is it that we want from life precisely right now. And that clarity is just so immensely important because that determines the thought that you have to generate in your mind. If it's money, and it's totally okay. If it's relationships, if it's security, if it's happiness, if it's family, if it's work-life balance, if it's anything at all, you have to design your life around that. Because if you don't, then here's the trick about being human. When we don't know what we want from life, the next best thing that we want is everything. And that's it. Game over. If you don't know what you want in life, the next best thing that you want is everything. And when you want everything, you don't know what you want. So you will always have that one thing that you genuinely crave for in your heart underrepresented. You will never know why it is. People leave their jobs and they think because if it's toxic manager, it's because of low pay, it's because of this and that. But the truth is, they didn't even know what they want. I have so many people writing into me saying, I hate my job. I said, awesome. What do you hate about it? I hate it. No, that's not a good answer. Tell me, what is it that you hate about it? Oh, I am not growing. Great. Why do you think you're not growing? Okay, next. They just move to the next person who can help. The truth is, they don't know if they were to leave that job because they hate it in that moment, they wouldn't be in that exact same position in the next job. They don't. They're only escaping what is their current reality without understanding what is it that they're escaping from. And until you don't get there. The larger point that I'm trying to make is, I am certain, without knowing you, you've actually progressed in life, that you've moved forward, that you are a better version of who you are than you were yesterday, day before, several years back. But the reason in your head you still feel that you are stuck is because you haven't pursued what was that one thing that you needed to pursue at that point of time. So from a distance, people will meet you and they're like, oh my God, your thoughts are so refined. You're actually making so much sense than you used to in the past. But in your head, like, oh, I don't have that material success that I wanted. I don't have that fame that I wanted. I don't have that reputation that I wanted. Or that one thing that you genuinely wanted. If you were to get that, even without progress, you will feel like a rock star. And that is how our mind tricks us. A sense of progress is the most important thing. 1st Jan is dawning upon us. We're going to make those wild resolutions again in life, one of which will be to get fit. And I'm going to send all of you into this very odd, weird gym. And here's why this gym will be really odd. This gym does not have any mirrors, so you can't see yourself. It doesn't have a weighing scale, so you can't measure yourself. It doesn't have a measuring tape, so you can't even measure your waist, your chest, whatever else. And it doesn't have any people when you're working out. No one's around you. I bet my life you will not go there beyond 2 weeks, even if that gym is working for you. Why? Because you don't get a feeling of progress. There's nothing that's feeding you. You don't get to see yourself. You don't have someone saying, oh my God, you're looking fitter. There's nobody giving you any indication that you're moving forward. So even if you're moving forward, you will opt out. That's how we all work. So the biggest thing that we have to do is find that one thing that we want in life and then find everything that we can on how to measure progress against it. Measure progress against it. If you don't do these two things, you know what? The biggest unfortunate reality will be, irrespective of how far you move, how meaningfully well you're living life, you will just feel shitty about yourself. Not to suggest that you feel that way, but you'll be just like, my life's a waste. I haven't done anything. Irrespective of the fact that you've actually done something, but you never felt that you were growing in it, progressing in it. That's the sense. I wouldn't give you any other answer than that. Thank you.
Hi, Ankur. This is Naveen here. Thank you very much for sharing your life story.
Thank you.
So wonderful. And I wanted to know, like, you had so many ups and downs in your life. You must have a depressing moment or when you have felt low. What is that one thing which you have kept you positive? What is that one thing which, always keep you up?
Yeah, and that's a great question. The question is, in moments which are really hard, in moments where you're down, what is the one thing that keeps you up? And frankly, there's nothing that keeps me up. The only realization is that there's nothing that will bring me down to the extent that I will just die. It's just gratitude for where you are. Because when you're down, and I want you to do that with yourself in your own head, whenever there is a moment, whether it's a job rejection, whether it's a college you didn't get into, whether it's a relationship that didn't work out, whether it's money that's not working out for you, status, anything else, We only feel bad because we have already begun to imagine ourselves at a certain level and now we are not there and we see ourselves below. It's like, and this was, it goes back to the very famous experiment that was done by Dan Kahneman and Amos Tversky. Ignore the names, they are not important. What they realized as scientists is that humans feel the pain of losing something far more than they feel the joy of gaining something. We fear the pain of losing something far more than we actually enjoy the joy of gaining something. Give you an example, and this happened in real life. It's at nearby. We were going through a really good year, and we said, all right, we're going to announce these increments, these bonuses for the entire company. There were 400 of us, and I, in my foolish manner, just went ahead and declared it before it actually happened. And I said, every one of you is going to get this year a 25% increment. And I'm just making those numbers up. When it actually came, everybody got a 20% increment. And everybody was unhappy. Everybody was unhappy. They're like, what the? And like, dude, you are 20% up from where you were. No, we're 5% down from where we were supposed to be. So whenever you find yourself in that moment of challenge, I would just center myself to, I am alive. I have a family that is so precious to me. I'm not going to die of food or poverty or hunger or anything like that. I still have what's inside of me. Nobody can take that away from me. I will just come back. It's what? 1 year, 2 years? Even if I die like this as a nobody, who the fuck cares? Do we really think that people will know anyone or talk anyone about us 5 years after we're gone? Of 100 people that we know of, 80 will not even mention us the next day after we're gone. 15 will perhaps think of us till a year, and maybe there'll be one person who will think of us for about 20 years before they also die. And that's it, khatam. In 25, 30, max 50 years, our entire existence is gone. And you'll be like, dude, we don't need a Sadhguru in LifePlugin. But the truth is, we are completely, absolutely dispensable. That moment of agony, of that hurdle that hits us, is just so temporary and self-created that if you were to just center back to, this is what I have in life, and that is actually very precious, that's it. That's all that we need. I'm sorry I'm sounding philosophical, but that's it. I go back to one, and sorry, before the next question, I go back to this one quote which is fascinating. It was a soldier who had lost both his arms and legs in war, and he was a motivational speaker. It's not that dude that we think we know. It's a soldier. I forget his name now. And people are like, hey, how are you so positive without your legs and your arms? And he's like, dude, how are you so negative with your arms and your legs? And that's it. That is just it. It is just it. And I find that so, so empowering. You have, like, this is a heartbeat. It's still working. Nothing's going to go wrong. Okay. All right, ma'am. And then I think we have a bunch of, there's 1, 2, 3. Can we make it in that order? Okay, 4. All right. We'll stick with that, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I thank God and I'm blessed to be here listening to you. I have a question. In my work, when I work, I have a problem with people when they fight with me, they argue with me, with my clients also. So I find it very difficult handling and I prefer being quiet. I would want to know what is your thought process when you have been heading so many companies. You must have had some legal matters also. So what is your thought process for it?
Okay, and that's a very, very valid question and a practical one at that. Thank you. Number one, this is a big realization. Speed is not equal to smartness. When you're in that moment, and I've witnessed that and I've been a victim of that as well, and when I say victim, I'm guilty of that, sorry, not a victim. Someone's asking me a question, they're confronting me, they want an answer right now, especially when it comes to lawyers. I don't know what's with them. Are you a lawyer? No, okay. Any lawyers in the house? Okay, right. I don't know what it is with lawyers. Like, no, I need the answer. Like, I don't have an answer. Oh, I need the answer. It's like, I don't have an answer. please resist the temptation of responding to whatever is it that you are in that moment itself. It's totally okay to take your time. If you're responding in that moment itself, that doesn't make you smart. In fact, it's quite likely you'll come up with a dumb response because you haven't thought it through. But in that moment, we're like, oh my God, if I don't answer, it'll be like, oh, she doesn't know the answer? And that is the thought in our head that's just manifesting that they will think that I'm dumb, that I'm not prepared, that I haven't done my research, I'm not well aware, so on and so forth. I find it totally okay saying, I don't know the response to that, I'm going to come back to you. That's number one. Number two, a confrontation is rarely about me, it is about the discussion and the idea. Dissociate yourself from the discussion. They don't hate you. They most likely are indifferent to you. It's quite unlikely they have any feelings for you. It's quite likely that they have any feelings for you. What they're arguing is that topic, but we take it personally. So we begin to represent and become the brand ambassador for that idea and winning it or not when it has nothing to do about you. It has all to do about the point at that conversation. So if someone's being disrespectful to you, you have every right to stand up for that and say that, which I have on every occasion, which is, hey, the way that you're speaking to me seems like you are up against me, when what you should be doing or what we should be doing is up against the conversation that we're having and the ideology we're representing, not me as a person. If they're not being disrespectful, don't take the disrespect. Just don't take it, because this has nothing to do with you. They will most likely not even think about it the very next second it's over, but you in your head will be playing it. Oh, this is what I should have said. This is what should I have said. Oh, this is what I should have said, because you're just playing it in your head thinking that that's how they're also thinking. But they have long gone, forgotten about that conversation. So second, don't take it personal. It's not about that, but about the point at mind. Third, and this is something that I've always believed in, people will find it very, very, very hard to fight someone who's genuinely a nice person. So don't become an asshole. Okay? It seems like you're not. I find it very hard to believe. I find it very hard to believe that you will become one in a conversation and be like, yeah? So, but there is a way that you keep maintaining the sanctity of your personality and your thought as against being visibly perturbed by it because of the first two things that I just said. They're attacking me. They're not attacking you, they're attacking your idea, what's in your head, and it is definitely not about you. Just be calm. There are people, as a content creator, like, oh, what do you know? Like yesterday, day before, I posted something on LinkedIn, which is, I find that college is a horrible way of getting educated. That's what I said. I find that college as an idea is a really poor form of education. I feel that it should be a great idea for life experiences, but college, I think, does a miserable job of educating us. And people are, ISB jaake aise bol raha hai, privilege and ye wo, you went to Hindu, then you went to Michigan State, then you went to ISB. What do you know about poor people who don't have an option? I was like, you know what? You may be right. And I don't know what it is to grow up in that environment. So, but I can be like, dude, you can unfollow me if you want to. You're an adult. But no, that's not it. You would actually say, thank you for what you're saying. I see where you're coming from. I can still respectfully disagree with your point of view, but I understand your point of view. There'll be nobody who will come back and shout at me again. It's impossible to react adversely to a comment or a reaction like I had just stated. Just maintain that sanctity. People will consistently be like, they'll just feel bad. Like, you would want to get to a point where the call is over and they're like, you know what? What's your name? Sorry, what's your name? Harleen, sorry. Harneet. You want to get to a point where they're like, the call is over and like, dude, I'm the biggest asshole on earth because every single time I do this to Harneet, I just feel so bad for doing it. That is where you have to get to. That is where you have to get to. And trust me, you can get there. You can actually get there. Just be yourself. But the first 2 points are very important. Thank you. Okay.
Hello, Ankur.
Hello.
This is Jay Kabir.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing your wonderful insights. And I've been watching your ads mostly
We will talk about that.
and reading the comments as well.
Yes, exactly.
And I've attended some of your programs as well. And
Thank you.
they're really profound and mostly poetic, the way you speak. And my question to you is, so yes, stories are amazing and talks are powerful and it give us breakthroughs. But what goes behind a successful person's journey is what he does every single day. So in your journey as a content creator, I just wanted to know, like I'm asking your secret, if you're willing to share that openly, that what you do every single day, like what is in your head, what is on the chart, or what is on the paper to create content and to serve people or influence or make their lives better with your content. Like how do you function? What goes in your mind and then how the content and the final product comes out? And what are the systems behind it?
Sure.
Thank you.
Got it. It's a very thoughtful question. I'm glad that you mentioned systems because frankly, that's 80% of why it happens the way it does. I'm a very, very, very process-driven individual. For me, even creativity is a process. So if you speak to the team, there is like this Excel sheet workflow where clinically things are getting done every single day. It's a content factory that is just generating. Here is the thing that may surprise you. I spend 3 hours a week creating content. That's it. 3 hours a week creating content every Tuesday afternoon, which then gets broken down into 67 unique pieces of content for the entire week across 5 different platforms. The way it's done is just a clinical process. It is not कि वो फूंक के कुछ आएगा और फिर उसकी वजह से कुछ होगा. Nothing like that. It is just clinical execution. But the bigger thing, and I'd love to give a philosophical answer to every straight question as well. We all think that there is a secret. And that is the trick that the world will have you believe. Whenever you read an article, 5 things all billionaires do, the first thing they get up in the morning, does not mean that if you were to do that, you were to become a billionaire. It's not how it works. 5 ways to crack every interview, 3 ways to get any girl or guy or of your choice. No. There is no prescription in this world. There isn't any. There is no secret that I have that you frankly cannot adopt. My only secret, if you will, is that I am an intent observer of the world. I love to just witness people. One shocking thing that only very few people know of is I am an introvert. I draw a lot of energy from within. Introversion is, by the way, nothing to do with shyness or social awkwardness. Introversion and extroversion is all about where do you draw your energy from. I draw, right now, I'm looking at you, but no offense, I'm not speaking to you. I'm not speaking to any one of you. I will not remember your faces if I were to meet you after 10 minutes. I am speaking to myself right now. I am just intently just going through whatever is it that I know, and every single occasion that I do that, my understanding of what I know only gets better. And I love that. At your expense, I'm getting better, so thank you, but I have nothing to do with you. So that observation is, I'll spend hours in just observing people. I am very blessed that I get so many emails. I understand what their emotions are and so on. And as most stand-up comics will say कि हिंदुस्तान एक ऐसा देश है जहाँ ना बैठे-बैठे content मिल जाता है. कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Any stand-up comic says, कहाँ मिलेगा इतना content? It is so true. I never have to go out and say, oh, what is it that I have to create, work on? It just happens, whether it's a topic of personal finance, about personal productivity, about anything else. But I think the bigger thing is the realization that there is a process behind it. It's not something that happens by itself. There is, what I can do is, and I don't know if there is a forum that connects all of us, but I've written about it, which is my entire content process is absolutely open source because there's nothing that I have that you shouldn't know of. Every single thing, how many team members do I have, what do they take care of, when does everyone do what they have to do, the dates, the platforms, the identity, the persona in every platform, all of that is shared and it's just visible for everyone. So it's a Twitter thread. If you just search for it, how I made content in 2020, You will find that. Yeah, you're welcome. Yes.
Hi, Ankur.
Hi.
Hi, this is Zishan here. I'll keep it as short as scripts, just a trigger warning. Very good morning to everyone. First of all, I need to acknowledge the amount of listening I was able to bring it in me just by observing you and observing not you today from a place where I have been observing a lot of people and consuming. And now I'm feeling that I've overconsumed stuff and it is overwhelming me. And I'm now finding way how to channelize that in a way that I'm present. I'm not in my past, I'm not in my future, I'm present directly facing you.
Nice.
And it could be intimidating for the other person. Now you've worked on yourself, those 10 years at least, I can see that coming in. And where I am is that person before ISB at 28, not 24. At 28, I'm there, but I don't need to go to ISB. I'm here acknowledging this, that I do not have a question to you. I have an answer to myself, but I'm not seeking
Awesome.
that.
I love it. I love it. I love that. Fantastic, Nishan.
And when I'm seeking that, that's coming to me in this form. Just one small share. I was planning to go for this Flame Incubator program, and before that, I was applying for the one-year program for the very reason you did, and find my way to mess it up and allow them to say no because I couldn't have said no to myself. And when I got that opportunity to be in the incubator, it's not about what I'm going to do with that. It's about me reminding that, yes, there are people who have come up, broken down the process, broken down to the T, and that T is important. And you were one of those. I was just looking forward for this moment, and I am here. I am here present with you, and I was sharing this thing, how simply you've broken down things for yourself and made it available for everyone as an open source.
Thank you.
And I can only appreciate you. But now that sense of gratitude, that humbleness, and that sense of belonging will not come outside. It will come inside. And my transformation was not happening right now. This is just building over the course of process, that thought in you that you've been consistent. Yes, I have been not inconsistently consistent, but that thought, just to cope up with it, it took me time.
Awesome.
I'm acknowledging it right now, and one question I'm leaving it to myself is...
Sorry. Thank you.
One question, last thing, one question I'm leaving to you and myself, no matter where we meet again, a version of me will come to you, and you will see that what this conversation did,
Nice.
and that I'm declaring it today to myself,
Awesome.
and acknowledging
I love
it, that a lot of needs to be done, and I don't need to talk about it.
Awesome.
And just listen.
I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ishan. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, Ankur.
Hi.
This is Som here.
Som?
Som,
Yes.
yeah. So I wanted to ask, many times we come across through a motivational speaker, or we get inspired through books or something, and then we get an idea that this is something that should work for me, and I should take a decision which I was not taking, and I just go ahead with that decision for which I was scared, I was not showing the courage. And ultimately, through that inspiration, we go ahead, we take the decision, and later on, eventually, it doesn't work. And then it comes to us as a big failure. So our rational mind starts telling us that last time you got carried away with that talk or that speaker. So you didn't see the practicalities. You didn't have done the right research of your situation.
Yeah.
He might be in a different situation environment. So
Yeah.
his thought has worked for him, but not necessarily it would work for you.
Exactly.
So in such situation, then we are bit back. We take a step back for again getting motivated or getting inspired next time to show that courage. So how should we handle this rational mindset in such situation?
So, okay, and that's a good question. That's a very good question. Here's where I would step back and actually go to the point of the inspiration itself. The problem about inspiration, and here's the mind experiment. It just so happened that some of you feel a certain way right now. You feel charged up, you feel inspired, you feel motivated, you feel liberated, you feel a certain sense of inertia going away and you're willing to make some action happen. What if I wasn't here today? What if Gautam and I never got in touch? What if plugin didn't happen? What if you were actually back in your own cities, wherever you were from? How would you have generated that same emotion that you are witnessing right now? And the answer is, you wouldn't. You would be just about going your normal life and everything would have been just the way it is. Which tells you that whatever is it that you're feeling right now or you have felt in the last 3 days at Plugin is by chance. It's just serendipity. Someone did the hard work of selecting some speakers, you connect with them, and that's how it worked. You could very well have said, I don't want to listen to this guy, he's not making any sense, she's not making any sense, and that's it. It was over. It was just serendipity. It was just chance. And that means that the biggest thing that drives you to take action, which is inspiration from within, is being left to complete luck. That's a horrible way of living life. That is not going to work for you. So the reason why you would hear someone, take an action, realize that it didn't work out, and then have your rational mind argue that I'm not going to ever listen to these individuals who come up with their own life stories is because you took that one moment of your life and thought that that was the only thing that you needed to make action happen. When the truth is, inspiration needs to come in a disciplined fashion every single day. Every single day. You can't just go up to the gym one fine day, work intensely, and then say, like, hey, six packs kahan hai? It's not going to happen. What you will do is most likely kill yourself to the point where your body the next morning will be like, dude, you are in such pain. Why would you want to subject yourself through that? Bad idea to go to the gym. Really bad idea. Screw all those guys who build bodies and everything. They don't have a life, but I have a life. Netflix, I love you. And that's it. You back to that world. If you were to make inspiration a decision, then life is over. So do something that inspires you every single day. Do something that inspires you every single day. Read, if that is what it is. Sing, if that is what it is. Dance, if that is what it is. Listen to people. Give a talk. Write. Do whatever inspires you every single day, because if you don't do that, you're essentially letting go of the mechanism that will keep fueling your energy and get you to take action. So it's very unfair on anybody's part to put the onus of performance on that one serendipitous, inspirational event that you went through, because it sounds awesome, right? If I were to ever write a book, it's like, my life changed that one day when on the 9th of October, 2021 in Goa, I heard that guy. I'd be like, boss. But the truth is, everybody who succeeds is like, you know what? There was no one fine day. I'm just been doing this for the last 21 years. I'm just as boring as fuck. Roger Federer की जिंदगी में कुछ नहीं हुआ था एक दिन, which made him who he is. It's like clinically every single day, shots. And he needed something to inspire him. That's what it got through. Every single successful person that I know of is leaving inspiration to a discipline and not to chance. That's the thing.
Please give a big hand for Ankur. Louder.